That's the great virtue of the market, that it permits cooperation without conformity, without people having to agree with one another. Over and above the waste of resources through these welfare state measures, they have further effects, which I think are very serious from the point of view of the maintenance of a free society. In the first place, calling on the government to solve problems strains that social fabric of agreement on basic values that is necessary to maintain a stable society. In order to have any kind of a stable society, you have to have people agree with one another. You have to have them have a certain minimum common set of values and beliefs. And you want to avoid straining that set of beliefs. Now, the great virtue of the market is that people who hate one another in other respects can cooperate with one another on the market without any difficulty. As I often say, when you buy bread at the grocery, you don't know whether the wheat from which that came was grown by a black or a white, an Indian or a Chinaman, Mohammedan, a Christian, a Jew, somebody you like, somebody you dislike. And it doesn't make a darn bit of difference. And even though you and he disagree violently on every issue, you can cooperate. He can produce the wheat and you can buy the bread. That's the great virtue of the market, that it permits cooperation without conformity, without people having to agree with one another. Furthermore, it undermines the ethical and moral standards of the people. It undermines those standards by instilling the notion that nobody is responsible for himself. That if something is wrong, somebody else is responsible for it. Now, of course, what happens to people is not wholly a result of their own behavior or their own actions. Society does have an effect. Outside forces do affect them. But unless you adopt broadly the view that individuals are to be responsible for themselves, you cannot get, in my opinion, a decent free society.